Hey, I'm Josh. This is Nick Bigelow. Say hi.
Hi.
If you're watching this, that means you're a Patreon subscriber. So first of all, thank you for your contribution. You help us keep doing what we're doing. So Nick Bigelow is performing, or I guess by the time you've seen this, he will have performed at Modular-Nights, April 6th. So this is the patch that he performed with, and so he's just gonna run us through it. So before I ask anything, why don't you tell us about the patch? Like maybe, what inspired you? What kind of drove you towards this sound? A little bit of your process,
So essentially, what I've been focusing more and more on is just sequencers. So I have still some Hammer, and they're in a Mark II, and they have the ability to have a lot of different sequences on them, but really I only use one. The nice thing about them is that they have these inputs that allow you to transpose up and down.
Okay.
So I do a lot of those in order to get variance in my patch.
Right.
And then also the DFAM, just as soon as I got the DFAM, essentially I just do 4-on-the-floor kicks with it just to give it a rhythmic bass. And
it's a 60 HP kick drum.
Yes, and it's a fat kick. So I have that running throughout the whole thing, and so a lot of my sets have been geared towards kind of more dance oriented versus kind of abstract noise, although there can be noisy sections. Also the inclusion of both of my plats, those are very rhythmic modules because the trigs have the internal envelopes. Right. Yeah, so I have one dedicated to drums and doing kind of clicky drums that all vary. At first they have some random gates coming from my temps util, and then I kind of get it less random, down the line. And the other one, it's just a bass line, but the internal envelope has the VCFA that Streams also has, so it's kind of a really nice sounding VCF.
Why don't you, now that you mentioned, the two plots, why don't you one by one run us through every sound source you're using, just so we can kind of hear each element individually.
Yeah, so I'll turn this up a bit so we can monitor it. Yeah. First thing you hear is the morphogene, and
that's what's running right now.
That's running right now. It's kind of a nice sound source that allows you to. For me, I need to have a background, and it also kind of sets the tone and the mood.
Totally.
It's looping between two things running off the pressure points. Very kind of pad sounding. And then when I turn the morph up, we'll get those kind of pitch ups and downs. It's random. It's nice.
Oh wow! So the dry sound is just that constant pulse.
Yeah.
But it's the morph that's kind of turning into a melody.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
Yeah. So I'll start with that and kind of get that going. Sometimes I'll play around with the gene size to get it sound more liquidy. So when you get that gene size low and the morph high, you get a lot of these windowed samples playing over each other.
So is that a sample that's running off the SD card, or is that okay?
And this is actually a sample I'm kind of lazy, so this is a sample I use for the modular on the spot performance in. But then it just it's such a nice basis, and when you get the gene size and you scrub through it, the morphogene allows you to do that.
Well, it's cool because even with module like the morphogene, even if you are using the same sample that you used before, it can sound completely different.
Yeah.
And also when used in a different context too.
Totally.
So I think if you hadn't told anyone that, no one ever would have known.
Yeah, and I keep no secrets. That's completely fine.
That's great.
I'm not ashamed.
No, I love that.
So
so you have the morphogene.
Morphogene's going. The next thing I'll introduce is the DFAM. So there's that kick. It's a pretty light kick at the beginning.
Okay.
I'm actually using a high pass on the DFAM.
Okay. I was gonna say this is a pretty clicky kick.
Yeah. And so I've been liking the high pass because it kind of lets you also key in on that resonant frequency that the kick's fundamental is. Mm-hmm. So when I stop getting it to kick so much, we can. It's quite a bit fatter, and we get to turn the resonance on. You can find that sweet spot. So right there, that's the sweet spot, and it resonates quite a bit.
Right.
Sometimes I actually will accidentally open it up too loud like that. I like to keep it clicky and a bit toned.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So So do you prefer those more like resonant, longer decay kicks, or do you prefer more like
kind of
punchy, concise? Okay.
Yeah, because like the low pass too, like you don't get as much. It's a little bit warmer when we have the low pass coming through. And so,
I mean, it's a Moog filter. So,
yeah. The high pass is very shrill sounding.
Yeah.
And I kind of like it.
Okay.
So we could, and it does kind of have like almost like a darker, eviler tone to it. You
Totally.
know? So when the patch kind of goes on, it gets more and more. This is like a light beginning, so I use a light kick. But down the line, it's not uncommon for me to open it up.
Yeah.
And then this is like one of the patches in the patch sheet of the D-fan is like this kick snare. So like if I need a snare, there's the snare, just a noise source.
Wow.
Pretty easy to key in. Sometimes you can even have different kind of, so that kind of has kind of like a more swing up mode. We'll cut that a bit. So I'll get the kick going, and then the next thing is actually my first plats.
Okay.
Right now I'm getting some CV. So this is my stages is being triggered. Tons of envelopes, and I'll just route them wherever. So my plats.
But you have it set up. You said it earlier. 6 decay.
6 decay. Yeah. And this is crazy. The main thing that inspired me was actually the D-fan, because like at first I was pretty dismissive of the D-fan, and then I played around with it. I'm like, this thing's solid, and the only thing you get on this is decay envelopes. And since my music has tended to be more rhythmic, decay envelopes is what you need, you know.
Right. Okay.
So you can use it to, like, later on I'll show you how it sweeps the Q pass, but I'm actually using this to change the mode, the different drum sounds of plats. So I can.
So you're using the first plats for drums.
Just drums.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're using the D-fan and the plats, and that's all your percussion.
That's my percussion.
Okay.
So you can hear, it's just like randomly picking different drum models, and it's just equally as clicky. So even though this can be even snappier, it kind of is nice. I mean, like when you listen to a lot of dance music, they use filtering essentially as the transitions. Right?
Totally.
So plats likewise. It's really easy. It's just a lot of macro controls.
Yeah.
Timbre going a little too long. That's not the mode I'm trying to do at the beginning, but later on I'll engage that sort of thing. Nice and short and clicky. And then the next thing I would introduce is actually this next chain, which is the DPO going into Monsoon, which is a Clouds variant with all the blend knobs up front and into Q pass.
Well, yeah. So explain a little more, like why, like what makes Monsoon? Because you also have a Clouds.
Yeah, I have a Clouds.
So what makes Monsoon different than like the normal Clouds?
Yeah. So this is nice because it's small in Clouds, so rack space is valuable.
For sure.
With Clouds, if I hit this mode, so this is a grayscale panel. If you have the original OG Clouds, you'll get all the different symbols. This is the modes button. So when I click this, you'll see that it'll switch between mix, pan, feedback, and verb.
Right.
And then the blend knob ends up controlling it.
Whatever parameter you're.
Yeah. So I mean, over here, I'll open up the Q pass. And we can already have some verb going on. So that was easy, right? Like I opened it up and I heard that the verb was already too high for what I wanted at the beginning. So I could just turn it down without worrying. So
it's like less menu diving, basically.
Less menu diving. Sometimes like a lot of my playing is actually knob turning versus automation.
Totally.
And sometimes I'll hear something like, oh, I gotta turn down that verb. If I'm running this Clouds over here, I don't know what mode it's on. It doesn't let you know what mode it's on. Right now it's just the boom meter, right?
Right.
And so I don't know what this blend knob's gonna do. Here I can just reach over and just turn it.
It's more immediate, which for performance is definitely what you want.
Yeah. Pretty easy to turn the wet up immediately. The feedback on Clouds is insane and deserves control. Because if I get that going too much, it's gonna start feeding back way too much.
Totally. I mean that's part of why I got rid of my Clouds. I felt like the feedback was insane.
Yeah, you can't turn it above 12 o'clock without it kind of getting too crazy.
Yeah.
So, but I love it. I mean, like, you know, Clouds is essentially like a modular beam, but to have that control up front, and I'm using it for more textual things, and I'm moving more towards stereo stuff. So, we were discussing before this is that pan, I didn't even know, because of this, I never explored what pan actually did. And I usually wouldn't run it stereo, but it's just the amount of, essentially it is the amount of panning that will happen with the grains versus where it's actually being panned. But you know, having that knob up front is great. Build quality is great. So it's just overall just a really fun time. So I use this for more, you know, more of that kind of granular reverb, and I use this one more for the loop and delay.
So you're running the DPO through the monsoon, and the monsoon through the Q-Pass.
Yep.
So what's sequencing the DPO?
Yep. Renee.
Okay.
So we'll go over here. The Renee has 3 sequences. The Y sequence is going to the DPO. The X sequence is going into this the Dixie 2. We'll go to that later. The thing I really like about the Renee and just sequences in general, this is a 9-step sequence. So when you hear it,
interesting.
Yeah, when you hear it, it has a groove to it because it's a 9-step sequence.
Right.
It isn't too jarring because it's on the higher end. And we could do things like do a bit of folding. It kind of gives it like, I know wavetables, you essentially would take this, fold it along and add it to a wavetable. The wavetables are really crisply sounding.
Right.
And so the DPO, especially being ran through this particular chain, because like we're getting those higher ends coming through the Q-Pass. If I have this open all the way, it's pretty like bright sounding, but when I get down over here, we get that kind of like the Q-Pass has a very crisply sound.
Well, yeah. So since we're talking about it, I mean, Q-Pass is kind of like all the rage right now. Like, that's like the modular right now. So like walk us through like in this patch specifically, how are you using Q-Pass?
Yeah. So over here, I'm cheating and using the quad VCA kind of more as I'm using the quad VCA more as just like a triad. I'm not actually passing any CV to control anything. So I'm just like, I have these all turned down right now.
Okay.
3 and 4 is gonna do this. So this is the rotate left and rotate right. And what this will do is we have 4 filters in there, and when we rotate it, it takes each filter cut off and spreads them. So when we do this, we get an incredible stereo sound going on. Especially once we get this going, you can even, it doesn't self-resonate in a really squelchy way, but it's very musical.
I kind of love that though. I feel like a lot of filters, like when you turn the resonance up, it gets way too squelchy.
Yeah, and it like your amplitude goes way too high, and you immediately reach for that knob and tone it down.
And especially during a performance, that's the last thing you want to have happen.
Yeah.
You don't want to blow the audience's ears out.
Exactly. You don't want to make people uncomfortable. So right now we're not automating these parameters, but we are getting some stereo spread. It's a very musical filter. So like in this particular patch, I'm actually running audio through it, but I've run gates into it, and it sounds amazing and plucky.
Whoa,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
Yeah. So right now we're not actually doing any sort of modulation of this, but if I turn up level 3 and level 4 here on the VCA,
Right.
we'll start getting some sweets.
So what's going through the VCA that's modulating Q-Pass?
Yep.
That's
Stages.
Okay.
Stages.
Okay.
Just decay and flux. So we can really hear it. We get down here and turn this up. So you can hear exactly how much it's sweeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear that.
Yep.
Definitely.
And it's great, because now, again, so Stages is being triggered. Stages is a really awesome module. I'm still learning it.
Yeah.
And I think I'll probably still be learning it for another few years. But,
Those are the best modules, the ones that you never really figure out.
Yeah. So Temps Util right now is actually sending, I have a bunch of random gates being sent from Temps Util over to Stages and then doing things like this.
Okay.
Randomly sweeping. So, again, a lot of my patching technique is about repetitive, dance music oriented sequences that don't get tiresome. So even though we're getting this, we're getting some sweeps on the filter, monsoon, if I start to turn this up, we'll get some of these kind of echoey delays coming through on the grain because my size is quite high.
Yeah.
It's a sequence of 9, so again, it's not going to repeat on a 16 grid.
Right.
And then over here too, I have, we were talking about the Renee sequencing the DPO. Let's see. Let me figure out which, there we go. So my triad is also getting some gates, envelopes off of the Stages.
Okay.
So when I turn this up here, you're going to hear that it's going to start transposing up. So this is, let me double check where this is coming from. Okay, here we go. So right now this is actually isn't getting pinged too much because I do have it set quite high on the randomness scale. But we can hear, eventually we'll get that ping and it'll transpose it straight up and adds variance, and there it is, you know.
Right.
And so it kind of writes a melody for itself.
That's cool. So then kind of compositionally what you're doing is, if I understand what you're saying correctly, you're basically taking this one sequence and you're not, at any point, you're not altering the notes or the melody at all. The melody's the exact same, but the way you make it interesting is you're adding all this modulation, you're adding all these effects. That's super interesting. I don't know if I ever
it just, you kind of just like let it play, because then you like, my hope, and I've become, sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not, but like, you know, when it goes high like that, like, and I'm playing, and I end up letting it play me too, like, you know.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's the modular in general, you know, you kind of have to let go a little bit and let the machine kind of do its thing. Because, like, I mean, like, it is true that I can learn how to use these sequencers in a way that would play a song. Right. Because it does have CPU controllable change between the sequences, but, again, I'm lazy. Right. I want it to add this variance, and I want to be able to key it in whenever. So when I have these back down, we're back at stage one. You know, everything's kind of static. You know, our key pass isn't sweeping anymore. This other part of the key pass, these are just triggers going into these weird bang, upside down bangs. Which aren't those like undefined?
Those are undefined. Yeah, they're very supposed to be esoteric. So if I turn this all the way down,
classic make noise.
Yeah, classic make noise for sure. So, you know, I'll cut everything besides that so we can maybe, hopefully, hear it come through in 1 and 2. Let me double check my patch is actually configured. Oh yeah, because my branches, you know what? My, you know, we'll cut this for a second here. My timbre, I changed something around, which is, you know, my bad. So over here, you know, we'll take a gate off of our Tempsy Till and run it into branches, and now you should be hearing. Oh yeah, I'm very different than earlier. One that's more busy.
I love the branches. I love the whole idea of, you know, you flip a coin and see where it lands.
And especially when you think about this in stereo. So once I get this patched in.
Oh, here's some.
Yeah. If we get it. So those like, So you still hear that pattern coming through, but it's gated in a way, and it's agitating the filter in a way that really brings out kind of like it's wet and acidy sound. You know?
Yeah, it sounds like a different melody.
Yeah,
it's the exact same oscillator, exact same notes, but it sounds completely different.
Yep.
So going back to like you know your method of like melodic sequencing, I gotta ask. If you prefer to just stick with like simple sequences, why use Renee or why use what is it, the Stilson hammer? Because if you're just gonna do, you know, simple sequences, in theory you could just use like a much smaller basic sequencer.
Renee was the first sequencer I ever used, so it's really hard for me not to use it.
No, I get that. Like there's an emotional attachment there. I feel that.
But I mean I sold my first Renee like that one.
Of course.
I just love. I mean, it's still a very live sequencer. For the knobs, the kind of like to have like the rotary knobs on here. You know, you do have a lot of pages, so your knobs end up becoming less live. Like it's less like an analog sequencer because as soon as I go to another page, now the knob may mean something else. But they've supplemented it with the. And I got really used to these like X mod, Y mod stuff. I would do like kind of like. Different random sequences by doing logic calculations on the Renee. But now I use it for those transposition tricks. So instead of using a quantizer, a separate quantizer, I'll use my actual sequencer as a quantizer. Stilson hammer intimidated me when I first learned about it. But again, it has, you know, let me keep this in. This is another sequence coming through. So this is bass line going. Again, I love polymeter stuff. So this is also running on a polymeter.
So what oscillator are we hearing now?
This is a Dixie.
This is a Dixie, okay.
So Dixie running into an Optimix. I described the Optimix today as it just takes envelopes and turns them into magic. Like the way that low pass gate works on the Optimix just sounds too good, and I can't not use it. You can see this UVC next to it is just getting no love because of that. And it's running to the Polaris, which does have the ability to drive a bit.
Yeah, that's the one thing I did like about the Polaris.
Yeah.
Drive.
So when we go down, like it sounds squelchy.
It's nasty. It's growling.
Yeah. And I would like to drive a bit more, but Clouds is fussy about that. So I have that run into Clouds, and if I want to get a bit of that delay going. Actually, we have the texture on. And then I go back over here. As soon as I turn B, that's that transposition on still some camera. And Clouds does add a bit of a lo-fi sound to it. And it does have this filter. Can't hear it if I have the blend up quite.
Are you using just the factory firmware for
Parasites?
Oh, Parasites. Okay.
So I mean, like Clouds in that mode, very playable. But Skills and Hammer, that's that transposition. But if I want to do that manually, it has knobs for me to do that manually. So I can go over to that particular page and turn the knob. Right now, this patch is actually a little bit more intense than I remember it to be. So I may not be able to get there.
No, that's great.
But again, Skills and Hammer is great because it actually tells you what the notes are on the screen.
Yeah,
I love that.
Totally.
And then over here, we have this particular. These are all. This one, these two, they're sequenced via 12 scale notes, but these are sequenced via just voltages, and it tells you raw voltages. So I actually use this to learn where those sweet spots are. Because Platts has chord mode and to figure out where those thresholds are. Skills and Hammer, I don't have a oscilloscope or any sort of like multimeter. I really want to. I use Skills and Hammer kind of for that.
That's so interesting. I've never heard anyone.
It's kind of goofy.
But then I love that mode. It's unique. It's great.
Renee is really fun because we have these modes in here. Let me turn down this filter so we don't have to hear that so much. But it has this quant mode where we can set up our own scale. And, actually this particular scale I do want to fix up. Oops. So right now I made a C minor. If I want to do C minor over here, it's way easier. We just hit this again, and it says it's a 16-step sequence, C, and then the end by the dot is minor. So the quantization of the scales, because I'm very melodic oriented. I come from more of a music background too, so I want to put things in scales. It's kind of to the detriment of some experimentation, but it's been a lot more fun for me to actually have sequencers that have those features built in. Yeah. And then it's just as easy as this slider system's great. You can do probability on here. You can do the way that it does the quantization. This is straight quantization. So anything I feed into my XCV is just going to be, every note's going to be quantized up. Over here, if I hold down A and I push these up, those are the only ones that are going to have the quantization applied to. So you could actually pick certain notes and have the rest stay flat. So this is a really cool, strange sequencer. 4 CV outs, 4 gate outs. So it's a beast for the space. Now the Renee certainly is there.
Yeah.
The old Renee was kind of hard to justify the space, but it was so fun and unique.
Right.
I can see still it's not a bad old sequencer to get, especially at the prices that they're going.
Yeah, you can get them pretty cheap now.
Yeah, so they're great.
Wow, I love how you approach composition. Like the composing part is actually, from what I'm gathering, is very simple.
Yeah,
it's just the way you're processing and modulating everything that makes it really come to life.
Yeah, and it's about layers too.
Totally.
Once you get things going, especially things in polymeter, especially things that are being randomized via gates and such, we get a lot of crazy layers going on, and then it's just an amount of pulling this then or feeling it and kicking it in wherever, because eventually I'll end up cutting the morphogene, and at the second part then we'll get this other very aggressive bass line coming in, and this is just Platts running.
Oh, that's Platts. Okay,
just cool. Platts. And Platts, the very first mode, a coworker turned me onto this, Matthew, that this first mode very dangerously like simple. These are just square waves, but we get a bit of pulse width modulation, and sync. And it sounds good for just basic bass lines, and then you run it through this the Wasp filter, and it just crushes that sound. Like in a way that sounds staticky. Like instead of filtering, it squishes, you know?
Interesting.
And then we have the echo phone going to get more delay. You can't get enough delay. It's synced up delay, and then it's just fun to do stuff. Filter sweeps, not filter sweeps, kind of like analog tape sweeps, and the reverb, So if I ever wanted to ring back out, this is usually how I end a set, because I always think about energy, transitions, and a lot of transitions just end up being washes.
Yeah, no, that's great though, I love that. Everyone has like their thing.
Yeah. So we can actually get this going really easy.
So while we're on the subject, you're kind of talking about like the structure you kind of like to use. So let's pick your brain a little bit. Like, how do you, when this is a blank canvas, when it's not patched, like how do you normally approach a new patch? Like, are there like specific modules you gravitate to and always start with, or do you try to think of like what genre am I going for? Like tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, some of it will just be born of the artifacts of the last patch. So to be honest, this is like the BPM is set by the last set I did.
Okay.
130. 130 is a pretty steady BPM, especially
for dance music. That's more where you want to be.
Yeah, and kind of what I've been feeling lately is kind of that's where I want to be. So 130, ambient is kind of where my heart wanted to go when I started this, because a lot of beautiful ambient artists out there, and we're actually having like a workshop with Annie soon.
Oh, I'm gonna be there.
So yeah, actually when I first started working here at Patrick's, Art Benny was playing at Lucio, so it's just like these are influences that were really big into getting into Eurorack specifically.
But then you got in and you were like, I want to make dance music.
Yeah, I want to make dance. Well, as soon as I started, actually it was like I got the SQ1 and the DFAM, and I was just like, because before I was working with like a shared system, and the shared system can make some pretty badass dance music, especially if you learn how to really work the Renee V1 to do multiple sequences. But the shared system is kind of set up in a way that makes you very smart about all the modulation sources you have, and your palette ends up being that. But as soon as I started breaking away and the DFAM changed that, the SQ1 is a more straightforward sequencer. And then I got my first plats, and it's just like, okay, dance music. That's where, that's the reason why I got into electronic music production, years and years ago. So,
It came full circle then.
It did come full circle, and this is so expressive. I never really thought of it to be more of a dance music oriented way of making stuff.
Totally. Well, normally, if the average person hears dance music, they think, there's a DJ or with the Ableton and maybe MIDI controls or whatever. But this is what you're saying. This is a much more tactile, expressive way to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And then you learn more and more, especially just with things like modular-nights, patchworks, listen to Modular Modcast. You start this thing about pinging the Q pass. That's something I learned from a customer.
Yeah.
Plats. That's something I learned from my coworker. A lot of this. I mean, the Stilson Hammer. Me and Jason Dangelman, we both started playing around with it.
I know. Jason lives and breathes by the Stilson Hammer.
And I think we both realized that it was such a great sequencer around the same time, and it's just so one. That's a great thing about the whole modular community.
Well, and there's probably someone who's gonna watch this video and listen to you talk and be like, "Oh, I never thought of that. That's cool."
It's great. I mean, I just love people, and we get some more local builders here and dropping off modules at Patrick's, and the way they describe their modules are using a VCA as a wave shaper. I'm kind of doing that sometimes with the quad VCA with distorting it and kind of crushing some of my waves, but he was talking about some creative patching in the ways that I was like, yo, that's next level.
I love that.
Yeah, and to come back to your question about composition, sometimes I'll start out with that idea. I learned something cool about doing this.
Right, so I'm going to base this patch around this new technique.
Yeah. And sometimes that works and it's great. Sometimes it completely fails.
Yeah.
And then because this patch in particular too, and actually my pressure points is acting up. But the last set I did, I ended up learning to love pressure points in order to work the chord mode in plats. And that has a very kind of like house feel to it, like to have those light airy chords. So I'd have one of these knobs change the root, one of the knobs change the quality of the chord, and another note just kind of change, you know, how much it may ring out.
Right.
And you know, I tried that with this set, and instead it wasn't vibing. You know, so now this is actually, you know, driving the morphology.
Right.
Because I like to have something that has tactile ability. At the end of it, I have brains in here too. So if once I get tired of triggering it with my fingers,
then you can have.
It gets clocked. That's fine. And now that it's a little bit acting a bit iffy, we'll see. You know, modular systems can be temperamental.
Yeah.
They have a life of their own. So, so one last plug. Temp-C-Till has an update, so if you have a Temp-C-Till, you should put the update on there. One thing that I wanted was separate clocking profiles. Before you were only able to get one clocking profile on there.
What do you mean clocking profile?
So if we take a look at this, we could see that we have 6 different clocks running. And when I hit down, this one's just doing like, essentially it's just clock dividing. It's doing a division of 32.
Okay.
And the rest of them, you can see they're all set to random. So they're random, they'll do a certain clock division, and then down here, you'll see that you know, this random greater than n. That is how random it will. That's the threshold of randomness for gates.
Yeah.
So if it's set to 0, it's actually going to trigger often. If it's set to 32, it won't trigger at all. And so I like that as one clocking profile, but in the middle of the set, I may want to have just all clock divisions, or I may just want to use different sequencers that are built in here, and I'd have to go in here during a set and reprogram it.
Which, yeah, anytime you hit the menu dive mid-set, that's
anytime you have to load or anything, yeah. So now, I mean, you still can load on here, and that's the thing that's nice. We can actually go here and load new, different, so I can now have a whole different set of what those 6 different clocks are doing.
Yeah.
And so that's, you know, clock division, modulation. To me, that's where my heart and the variance of modular is really coming from.
Wow.
So honestly, the Temp-C-Till should be a lot closer to stages.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow. All right. Well, you know, I think now, well, obviously, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Talking. I think maybe, you know, let's just spend like, you know, 5 minutes and just jam out on this thing, and let's just hear your patch.
Cool. Sounds good.
Come together.